It's one of the oldest and most terrifying creatures ever mentioned in human history. A beast so powerful, ancient texts say it cannot be killed by any weapon made by man. Its body can twist through the oceans like a living storm. The Bible calls it Leviathan. Leviathan is described as a real force of chaos, waiting beneath the deep. And what's strange is, it's not alone. Versions of this creature appear in ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and even Norse mythology long before cultures had any contact with each other. So what exactly is Leviathan? A myth, a memory, or something much more dangerous? This is Secret Origins, and today we dive into the ancient mystery that still haunts the depths of our oceans. Welcome. The story of Leviathan starts in several parts of the Old Testament, most notably in the books of Job, Psalms, and Isaiah. And the descriptions of it are so detailed that you will start to wonder whether the writers are describing something real. Let's start with the book of Job. Here, Leviathan is introduced by God himself. In one of the most intense parts of the story, Job has been suffering and begins to question why God allows pain in the world. God responds, not with direct answers, but with a series of powerful images. And one of the most fearsome was Leviathan. God describes Leviathan as a creature no man can defeat. Its body is covered in thick armor-like scales. Its breath can ignite coals. Its eyes shine like the morning sun. Spears and arrows bounce off of it. It churns the sea like boiling water. Here's a passage from Job 41. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. The message is clear. Leviathan is a creature of overwhelming power, something no human could possibly control. Only God has authority over it. And by reminding Job of this, God shows just how small and limited humans are in the face of divine power. In this way, Leviathan becomes a symbol of the chaos that only God can tame. But the story doesn't end there. In the book of Psalms, Leviathan appears again. This time, it's not alive. One psalm praises God for his mighty acts, saying, "It was you who crushed the heads of Leviathan and gave it as food to the creatures of the desert." Here, Leviathan seems to represent a cosmic enemy, something from ancient times that had to be destroyed when the world was being formed. Some scholars believe this reflects an even older tradition shared by other cultures, where sea monsters were symbols of chaos that had to be overcome by the gods. Then, in the book of Isaiah, Leviathan shows up one more time. But now, the story shifts into the future, and we will talk about this part a little later. Many early Jewish texts treated Leviathan as something very real. In the Midrash and Talmud, Leviathan is described as a sea monster so large that only one male was allowed to live. According to tradition, God killed the female Leviathan early on to prevent the species from multiplying, because if it had, the world could not survive. And there's another twist. According to these ancient texts, Leviathan has a special role in the end of days. When the Messiah comes, God will slay the remaining Leviathan and prepare its flesh as a feast for the righteous. Its glowing skin will be used to make tents for the celebration, and some say it will even cover the walls of Jerusalem with light. This might sound strange to you, but if you still think of Leviathan just as a metaphor, why did so many ancient texts treat it like a real threat? Let's take, for example, the Ugaritic myths from the ancient city of Ugarit, located in what is now Syria. These stories, carved into clay tablets over 3,000 years ago, describe a creature named Lotan. He was a giant, coiled, seven-headed sea serpent who served the chaotic sea god Yam. But Yam was not the hero. In fact, in this myth, he threatens the other gods and seeks to overthrow the order of heaven. To stop him, the storm god Baal steps forward. Baal defeats both Yam and his monstrous servant Lotan in a divine battle that restores balance. Sound familiar? It should, because the Hebrew Bible later describes Leviathan using nearly the same phrases. Twisting serpent, fleeing serpent, the dragon of the deep. To protect their lands, these people carried out sacrifices to the storm god Baal, who was believed to have defeated the beast. Bulls were often offered on mountaintops, and priests would chant lines meant to rebind the heads of Lotan. In some coastal areas, carved figures of monsters were lowered into water and sealed, as if chaos itself could be locked away. Some scholars believe that the story of Leviathan is a direct descendant of the Lotan myth, just retold with new characters and theological meaning. But what makes this even more interesting is that the Ugaritic people lived before or alongside early Israelites. And it doesn't stop there. Travel east into ancient Mesopotamia. This time the creature is Tiamat. She isn't just a sea monster, she is the primordial ocean itself, a goddess whose chaotic waters give birth to all the gods. But when those gods begin to disrupt the world she created, she rebels. Tiamat rises filled with rage. From her body, she spawns monstrous children, dragons, serpents, scorpion men, and chooses a new consort, Kingu, to lead them. In response, the storm god Marduk is chosen as champion of the gods. With wind and sword, he confronts Tiamat, defeats her in a great cosmic battle, and then, perhaps the most striking part, slices her body in half. From one half, he fashions the heavens. From the other, the earth. Here, the rituals against Tiamat followed the same logic. At temples like Isagila, priests reenacted the divine battle through ritual games. Fires were lit using salt and dried seaweed, and Marduk's symbolic cutting of the ocean's chaos was performed at the start of the new year. This is a creation story built around a recurring pattern. A chaotic sea creature threatens the world, and a powerful god must rise to bring order. And this pattern appears again and again. In ancient Egypt, the serpent was called Apophis. Each night, as the sun god Ra sails through the underworld, Apophis attacks, trying to swallow the sun and plunge the world into darkness. But Ra, sometimes with the help of Set or other defenders, defeats him before dawn. Every day, the cycle repeats. The Egyptians even had rituals to help Ra win. Priests would make wax models of Apophis, stab them, burn them, and chant special spells, just to ensure that the serpent stayed defeated for one more night. Now let's head north into Scandinavia. The Norse believed that deep beneath the seas of Midgard lived a serpent so massive it encircled the entire world. They called it Jörmungandr, the world serpent. It is the child of the trickster god Loki, and it lies waiting in the deep. At the end of time, in a battle known as Ragnarok, it will rise. Its enemy was Thor, god of thunder. During their final battle, Thor will slay the beast, but will die from its venom in return. Once again, sea serpent, chaos, battle, god of order. This repeating pattern across civilizations has fascinated scholars for generations. Known as the Chaos Kampf or Chaos Struggle, it's a mythological structure that seems to exist in cultures that never met, never traded stories, and never shared borders. The Sumerians had it, the Canaanites, the Babylonians, the Hebrews, the Egyptians, the Norse. Even the Vedic texts from India describe the god Indra slaying a serpent named Vritra, who hoards the waters and blocks the rain. How is it possible that so many distant societies came up with such similar stories? Is this simply a shared psychological metaphor for nature versus civilization, or is it something else? Some researchers have asked a more daring question. What if all these stories Lotan, Tiamat, Apophis, Leviathan were based on a common memory. A memory of something real, a creature from the ancient world so fearsome, so unstoppable, that it imprinted itself onto the myths of every civilization it touched. Of course, many people think these stories are just myths. However, what if I told you that recent deep-sea exploration has discovered massive underwater caverns, vast pitch-black spaces beneath the seafloor that eerily match ancient descriptions of Leviathan's domain? In both the Mediterranean and Pacific, researchers using sonar and remote-operated vehicles have mapped hollow chambers far below the ocean's surface, some so wide and deep that light has never touched their walls. Their scale and structure are reminiscent of descriptions found in ancient religious texts and mythologies, where Leviathan is said to dwell in the depths, in the abyss, or beneath the foundations of the sea. In 1997, NOAA, the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, recorded something unusual. Deep in the South Pacific Ocean, hydrophones picked up a powerful sound. It was ultra-low, wide-ranging, and absolutely massive. Scientists named it the bloop. At first, some suggested it could have been caused by ice movement or tectonic shifts, but others weren't so sure. The bloop didn't behave like a geological event. In fact, it resembled the vocal profile of a living organism. But here's the problem. Whatever made that sound would have had to be several times larger than a blue whale. To this day, the source remains officially unidentified. Strangely, that recording came from an area not far from one of the largest undersea cavern networks ever discovered. Coincidence? Perhaps. But the mystery deepens. In the Baltic Sea, divers in 2011 discovered a strange circular object on the seafloor. Its outline was almost perfect, flat on top, ridged along the edges, and marked with what looked like symmetrical grooves. Around it, rocks appeared mysteriously charred, despite the freezing environment. Some called it a sunken UFO. Others believed it was a geological formation, but for a few, the shape, along with the trail carved into the seabed behind it, looked eerily like something that had landed or surfaced. Then there's the Bermuda Triangle. This patch of ocean, stretching between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, has puzzled scientists for decades. Ships vanish, aircraft disappear without distress calls, compass readings behave strangely, skeptics blame the weather, rogue waves, or magnetic anomalies. And many of those explanations are valid, but others point to the triangle's deep waters, where cracks in the seafloor open into caverns large enough to swallow entire vessels. Even today, the deeper parts of the triangle remain largely uncharted. Could one of these submerged fissures lead to a hidden world, one where ancient things still stir? We now know that deep-sea trenches, like the Mariana Trench, reach nearly 11,000 meters below sea level. There, the pressure is immense and the darkness absolute. And yet, even there, life thrives. Transparent creatures, glowing fish, and unknown species adapted to a world we've barely begun to study. Scientists estimate that over 90% of the ocean remains unexplored. That's more than 2/3 of our planet's surface. The truth is, we've mapped the surface of Mars better than we've mapped the bottom of our own oceans. And if Leviathan or something like it still existed, this is exactly where it would be. A video shared on the internet in 2024 caused a wave of speculation and debate. The footage appeared to show satellite imagery from Google Earth, zooming into an area between the southern tip of South America and the icy edge of Antarctica. And if you open Google Maps and look for yourself, it's easy to see why so many people were stunned. As you zoom in on the icy waters between South America and Antarctica, you will see a massive shape with what look like two eyes, a wide head, and a long, reptilian body stretching into the deep. It might be nothing, or it might be something we're not meant to understand. But once you see it, You can't unsee it. And suddenly all those old stories about Leviathan don't seem so far-fetched anymore. And this stretch of ocean is no ordinary location. These are some of the most treacherous waters in the world, known for deadly currents, violent storms, and a high number of disappearances. Some say this danger is a sign that something ancient still lurks beneath the waves. Of course, not everyone is convinced the 2024 video is real, but the mystery doesn't end there. In fact, stories of sea monsters never really stopped. Let's head to a different part of the world, Scotland. For centuries, Loch Ness has been at the heart of one of the world's most enduring mysteries, and in 2025, the legend came back to life. A new image shows what appears to be a black mass sliding beneath the water. The staff at the center called it a significant clue. It's not the first time people have claimed to see the creature known as Nessie, but this image renewed public interest once again. And that wasn't all. Just weeks later, Ian O'Fowdegain, a long-time Nessie watcher from Ireland, captured something even stranger. Watching the Loch Ness Lake via a public webcam, he saw two enormous wakes moving side by side. There were no boats, no animals in sight, just water churning violently before it all went still. The footage went viral. Some speculated it was a pair of creatures, possibly mating. Others suggested this could be evidence of a surviving species, maybe even a descendant of Leviathan itself. And of course, no story about Loch Ness is complete without mentioning the most iconic image of them all. In 1934, a London surgeon named Robert Kenneth Wilson published a picture. For decades, it was seen as the best proof of Nessie's existence. Though later disputed, the photograph remains an unforgettable part of the mystery. Still, for most people, the strongest evidence of Leviathan's existence may not come from legends or old maps, but from the fossil record itself. Paleontologists have uncovered bones of real monsters that once swam Earth's oceans, predators so massive and powerful that they seem pulled directly from the pages of ancient myth. Take Liopleurodon, for example. This pliosaur had a huge skull filled with sharp, conical teeth and could grow to over 8 meters long, maybe even longer. It had a short neck, a powerful body, and 4 massive flippers, ideal for launching at prey with explosive speed. In 1999, it captured the public imagination when a TV documentary exaggerated its size to 25 meters. Then there's Mosasaurus, perhaps even more famous. This marine reptile lived near the end of the age of dinosaurs and could grow over 15 meters long. With its long tail, massive jaws, and double-hinged skull, Mosasaurus was a true apex predator of the ancient seas. It didn't just look terrifying, it was built to dominate. Other creatures like the Kronosaurus and Pliosaurus cavani push the boundary even further. Some of these pliosaurids had skulls over 2 meters long, suggesting total body lengths over 10 or even 12 meters. Their teeth were made for crushing bones, and fossil evidence indicates they may have even hunted other marine reptiles. In 2023, a nearly complete pliosaur skull was unearthed on the coast of England, so perfectly preserved that paleontologists called it one of the most important finds of its kind. And it's not just in Europe. Massive fossils have been found in Norway, Australia, and Mexico, suggesting these predators ruled oceans around the world. Many scientists now believe that early humans coexisted with Ice Age megafauna. People would have seen mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant marine animals like the Basilosaurus, an ancient whale that grew over 18 meters long and had rows of sharp conical teeth. Or Leviathan melvillei, another prehistoric whale discovered in Peru, which had teeth longer than a human hand and likely hunted other whales. If humans did witness these creatures, even from a distance, it's not hard to imagine how the stories began. A massive silhouette in the ocean, a carcass washed ashore after a storm, or bones uncovered in a cave could all become the foundation for legends passed down orally for generations. Over time, facts blur with fear, and beasts become symbols. That's why some researchers suggest that Leviathan might not have been invented, but remembered. Perhaps what ancient scribes recorded in sacred texts were exaggerated echoes of real creatures seen by early seafarers or shoreline communities. What they couldn't explain, they turned into warning. And what they feared, they gave a name: Leviathan. Still, if we return to the Bible, we find something chilling. Isaiah may not have been warning us about one yet to come. And that's exactly what many people today are afraid of. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 27, verse 1, the prophet writes, "In that day the Lord, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." This is a prophecy. The verse points toward a future event, one that will happen in that day, a phrase often associated with the biblical end times. According to the passage, Leviathan is not just a creature of chaos, but one that will rise again before being destroyed by divine power. For that to happen, Leviathan must first return. This same theme appears again, centuries later, in the book of Revelation. In chapter 13, a great beast rises from the sea. It has 7 heads, horns, and blasphemous names written across it. Many theologians and scholars believe this sea beast is symbolically tied to Satan himself. But its physical description echoes something much older: the twisting, coiled Leviathan from the Hebrew scriptures. And in Revelation 12, another dragon appears, waging war against heaven. It is cast into the sea. Some interpretations connect this dragon with the one Isaiah mentions, suggesting that Leviathan is not merely a creature of legend, but part of the ultimate battle between good and evil, chaos and order. What makes these prophecies even more unsettling is that many people believe we are already seeing the signs foretold in Scripture. Rivers are drying. The Euphrates, a river with deep biblical significance, is shrinking faster than ever. In some areas, mysterious sinkholes and caves have appeared as the water disappears, leading to speculation about what lies hidden beneath. Some have even claimed that voices or groans have been heard in these places, though these reports remain unverified. At the same time, across the world, bodies of water have been reported turning red, caused by algae blooms, pollution, or chemical reactions. But to believers, it looks like something else. The water's turning to blood, just as described in biblical prophecy. Add to this the increasingly strange behavior of ocean creatures, like deep-sea fish washing up in unusual numbers, or whales stranding themselves in herds, and a disturbing pattern begins to take shape. Could something be stirring in the deep? There are even more speculative theories. Some researchers, blending biblical language with scientific curiosity, have suggested that the moon, specifically its gravitational cycles, might have the power to disturb whatever lies at the ocean floor. Just like the moon creates tides, could it trigger something ancient beneath the seabed? Of course, this remains firmly in the realm of theory, but for many, the signs are there. And if ancient texts are correct, then Leviathan is not only real, but it is waiting somewhere in the abyss. So at the end, what do you think? Is Leviathan a myth, a monster, or something more? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss an episode. Keep your minds open, and until we meet again,